show themselves, show their true colors.
Well, I want the Republicans to
Right.
drive Democrats to the polls.
Yeah.
The smart Republicans in Congress last week said, please stop doing this.
Hey there.
Hey, boy. Good to see you, Andrew.
You too, Dad. So, I know like generally in these conversations we want to go over the course of time and talk, about the history and about the past and many different topics. But I want to talk to you about a contemporaneous topic where we're at right now, which is we're in like the heat of the kind of beginning of the U.S. Presidential race. Today, the Olympics begin in Paris. Just as a little fun fact, it's like 5-6 hours from where I am in Amsterdam here. And, for me, this is like just such a really pivotal year with this election and what we've talked about already. And, so last Sunday, Joe Biden dropped out of the presidential race, which was both unexpected and shocking at the same time. And very quickly, Kamala Harris was nearly unanimously agreed upon as the person to step in. And I think she's great, and I think rightfully so. So I want to just get into that with you now that the dynamics of the race change. So I want to talk kind of specifically tactically about where we're at, and just one also time factor: the vice presidential pick of Kamala Harris has not been announced, so there's speculation there. So I'm curious to kind of unload a little bit where you think things are, who you think she'll pick, because this has changed things up quite a bit. So what are your thoughts on so last week Sunday Biden dropped out, and now it's Friday afterwards, July 26th. In 1 week, everything has changed. So
yeah. Well, first, before I say anything about our current situation, I mean, I have been very fond of Joe Biden as a president. And I have always thought that he would win, not because of the current polls or anything like that.
Yeah.
And I have always thought that at some point people are going to have to go into a voting booth and choose. And that's when the rubber hits the road. All this jitterbugging we're doing with the polls and all this other stuff was to me relatively meaningless.
Yeah.
My data points are that 82 million Democrats voted in the 2020 election. 82 million.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Got like 6 to 8 million more than Trump. And I think that is the maximum that Trump has got. And I think that there's even more to go. A higher turnout could occur in 2024 on the Democratic/independent side. Mm-hmm. And I have always trusted that Donald Trump will become so unhinged over time as the pressure grows that the choice,
how unhinged he is.
The choice in the ballot box becomes tremendously clear. But I understand here what was basically 4 months before the actual election that it's a PR event. Most people think that this is like a TV reality show. They're judging based on superficial things.
Yeah.
However, and that is always been the case, will continue to be the case, and people will make that choice on that basis. Right. I think that Joe Biden actually really started to have a terrible event start to occur. And this does happen for older people, especially men, I think. And that all of a sudden they can take a huge step down. But
quick decline, a quick
decline, and which means that he's going to lose the PR battle.
exactly.
The
The perception.
wisdom that he has, or the system that he's put in place, or any of the other things, won't survive that.
No.
So the
Yeah.
event, I think, is unfortunate. However, it does give the Democrats a chance to fight the PR battle with Kamala Harris. Okay?
Absolutely.
And
Absolutely.
so everybody is tremendously relieved on the liberal side, progressive side, very hopeful. Momentum is being built. Trump
Yeah.
is starting to get more squirrely by the minute,
Yeah.
and but the fundamentals for me have not changed. It would
Right.
have been a Democratic victory. Of course, now I can't prove that because I can't tell because there's no way
Right.
to prove it.
Right.
Nevertheless, here we are.
Here we are.
And
Let me let me just pause on one thing that you said, and just one comment is, I don't I don't subscribe to the idolizing politicians, and as if they're
the PR, right?
heroes and whatnot, and they're not necessarily and usually typically people to look up to, but just respect to Joe Biden for all of his years of, in some way, public service to America in a positive light. And I'm sure there's a lot of things in his record that are
Not
whatever
so good.
not so good, but by
You
and
bet.
large, and he was a pretty damn good president, and he was the right president really at a perfect time. And I mean, it's so unfortunate that it's such a game of perception versus of resume, and it's just completely
Okay.
now perception management. But I mean, not. I think too many people would be perceiving Joe Biden to be incapable of doing the job. But I personally think that despite his inability to get words out sometime, that I think he could still have continued the job
Sure.
for quite some time. So I just want to
Right.
say that I personally think he could have done the job and continued and done it as fine as the job he's been doing. But I think too many people don't believe that, and that's more important.
Well, because they look at what indicators they have, they're very surfacey. Personally, I think he would be a better president than Trump, even if he was in a coma. But that's a
If it
independent
was
kind of thing.
like you said, if Joe Biden was on the ticket and he just passed away, I would still have voted for
Right.
him,
Right.
But anyway,
Right.
we're not in that
Okay.
situation now.
And so here we are. One thing I want to mention that I began to recognize about 2 years ago, the signs of a very long, uh, deliberate campaign to undermine Kamala Harris on the
Hmm.
part of the Republicans.
You saw that starting to bubble up,
Yeah,
which
that
means
started very slowly. This was
they're
this
planting
message
for
that
this moment.
she's horrible to work for, or she's an idiot, or she's incompetent, or all she's flighty because of her laugh, blah 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 blah. This low grade sort of constant
Hmm.
drumming in the background. About a year ago, I started hearing people say, "Well, I don't like Kamala Harris." And I said, "Why?" "I don't know. She just doesn't seem to be very smart, right? Or she just seems a little, I don't know, bitchy, right? Something,
They're
right?"
really trying. They're
So
really
I'm seeing all these little eggs that got laid starting to hatch all the way down the road. Now, I know that she sees this too. She knows this. The Democrats know this. I think she's got the steel in her belt backbone to confront that stuff head on and turn it around. So I'm not really worried about her ability to fight the fight.
yeah.
Okay? So on balance, the fundamental reasons that I thought that Biden would win haven't
Hmm.
changed. It's just Biden's protege. And I think that Biden saw in her who she really is and made her his vice president for that reason.
Hmm.
So that kind of brings us to the question about, well, okay, what does the crystal ball say about her
Hmm.
choice for VP?
Right. Coming
Okay,
any day now.
right now, you know, there's this is turned into
Yeah. The veepstakes.
the veepstakes, and
Yeah.
I mean, I think CNN is doing 24 hours a day, having, I mean, it's,
Constant
it's
speculation from one to
right.
the next to the
Okay.
next. Now it's these
Right.
three.
Right. And now, just want to point out, we're 3.5 months right now from the election.
Yeah.
So the election season hasn't actually started, right? You got to get both nominated, both get VPs, clear out all the other whack jobs, the JFKs disappear, all the other stuff that the media has to speculate on,
Yeah.
and get focused, and then it's Katie bar the door. Now this is going to be as ugly a campaign.
Ever. This is
Well,
it. This is
there's
the.
been a few in the past that
It
were
should be.
should
Should
be
be.
considered the
Yeah.
gold standard for nasty, but
Yeah.
this one could go there.
Yeah.
And also the possibility exists as I think that as Kamala does better and better and better and she sucks the oxygen out of the room where he's not dominating the news cycle. You
Mm.
notice that every time he says something, they respond right away. This is very different than what Joe Biden did. He planned to just ignore the guy. But Trump understands that this is a PR campaign,
Yeah.
right?
Entirely.
So I think that Kamala's decision to meet him at the gates, every
It
time he opens his mouth, she
that
responds.
playing field in the same way. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that that's a better decision. And I think that Joe's approach was more the gentlemanly approach. The Marquis de Queensberry rules I'm not going to stoop to his level.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
when you're in a dog fight, fight like a dog, right?
Yeah.
I mean, don't stop pretending that this is politics as usual. Anyway,
Yeah.
so I'm encouraged by that. And I think the more oxygen she sucks out of the room, the more desperate and the more difficult he's going to get. And I think it might actually work to accelerate his own type of dementia, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Right,
Nothing to stir up his frustrations and
right,
his
right,
mental acuity
right.
like a black female going
Yeah,
at him.
yeah, yeah.
And then the possibility of well
Right. Well, I
what he
always thought
do.
and have said many times that his worst nightmare will be a black female candidate. And that is because when he starts to attack her or his base starts to attack her on
Yeah.
the basis of sex or
Right.
race,
Right.
that is going to bring more Democrats to the polls than any other single thing.
Mm.
And they have studiously, carefully avoided that this entire
Yeah.
presidential term
Yeah.
and have focused on incompetence and the border and all these other ancillary things.
Right.
But now what's happened is that her sudden emergence as the Democratic nominee,
They can't hold back.
the base cannot hold back. They just can't take it. And, yep. So they are pulling out all the misogynistic, racist stuff, and it's a hoot. And
Right.
I want them to keep doing that as
Yeah.
hard and as loud as they possibly
Show
can.
themselves. Show themselves. Show their true colors.
Well, I want the Republicans to
Right.
drive Democrats to the polls.
Yeah.
The smart Republicans in Congress last week said, please stop doing this to their
I noticed
base.
that. The Tim Burchett from
Yeah,
Tennessee,
yeah,
from our home, from Tennessee. He was one of the main ones that you saw this clip of him um,
yep,
saying,
yep.
well, why do you have to pick a black woman? There's also a white. I mean, why start there? Like, I mean, it's like the DEI. They say the
Yeah,
DEI.
she's a DEI hire.
Biden said, first off, he said he's going to hire a black female for vice president, and that he just skipped over. What about white females? What about any other group? It just when you go down that route, you take mediocrity, and that's what they have right now as a vice president. 100%. She was a DEI hire.
I am. It's killing me. It's so funny because the few remaining Republicans with any, even Mike Johnson, as bad as he is,
Yeah.
said, "Hey guys, don't do this. Don't. This is a losing." Nope, no effect whatsoever. So this is, it's like I'm
Yeah.
starting to think that there's a chance that the progressives would get Congress.
Right. This could.
This could be it. And so that's why I want them to act out in the very best traditions of MAGA.
Right.
I want MAGA to go.
You have said that. You've said that. Jordan and I, and we are throughout the entire last 8+ years of since what's his name came down the escalator, but
He whose name shall not be mentioned.
whose
Right?
name shall not be mentioned, the idiot, the orange idiot. We have come to you many times and said we were, upset, worried, concerned about how extreme a lot of these people are and how they're doing this. And almost every time you said, no, it's great. Not because what they're doing is great, but because it's so bad that it drives it. It just makes it, they're going to work themselves out of a job. And a lot of times it's a matter of maybe, keeping the crazy under a certain level.
Yeah,
Public, it
it's
allows for a lot of crazy, but if you overdo the crazy past the crazy line,
right.
people are like,
This is really not normal.
exactly, and that's what they're going to do, hopefully, and they're starting to
Right.
do. So let me ask you then. I think you had told me previously some ideas about, just to jump over. This one's fun to play around with, the veepstakes. I mean, you got Josh Shapiro and governor of Pennsylvania. They need Pennsylvania. They need Pennsylvania, Wisconsin, Ohio. Those are the swing states. Then you have Arizona Senator Mark Kelly, who's the astronaut. That's a cool profile. And then Andy Beshears and Roy Cooper from North Carolina,
Yep.
and
Pete
some
Buttigieg.
Pritzker and Pete Buttigieg. Buttigieg, yeah. And so there. Tell me what's your or somebody else. What's your thought?
Okay. So the classic theory is get as much help as you can in your VP pick for the swing states. Like get somebody from Pennsylvania that's popular or
To
whatever.
balance you out, right?
Balance it.
To offset you, depending on whatever your
Yeah.
demographic, whatever your state is. You want
Your
to get.
Democratic, well,
I mean,
if there's 6 or 7 swing states, pick the guy that's going to give you the biggest bang for the buck in the state you need, like Pennsylvania.
sure, but let me
Okay.
just say that applies more so now with the swing states. But like, for example, Trump picked Pence, who wasn't from a swing state. Pence balanced out the ticket of Trump crazy, and we have milk toast Pence here to.
We got a normal guy, right?
So there's a balancing function of this, and so
Well, I would not ascribe any intelligence to the Mike Pence pick.
okay.
I think that I think that
He doesn't say anything back to us, dear leader. He doesn't.
no, I think he was the balance that they were after was they wanted to make sure that the religious right was with them.
True. So there's you're trying to get a piece of the
It's a strategic move.
that you're not as good with. You're
Right.
expanding your coalition.
Right.
So
Right.
now the coalition is focused on the swing state coalition specifically. But so
Well, that's one theory of operation that she might be considering, and a lot of political pundits like, oh, okay, get the best guy that's going to help you the most with the swing state.
sure.
Okay, now you can pick the best person that's going to counterbalance you. Let's say, whatever, you have some very serious,
Now you need the white
right?
guy. We got the black.
Right, yeah, you get a white guy or
Like,
something like that, right? And then you could go for, now here's what I prefer.
Right.
Now, all of those other strategies that we sort of talked about just now are conventional strategies.
Yes, exactly.
And you are up against an unconventional Republican Party now. It does
Yes.
not resemble anything.
Right. They counter that
Right.
supposed logic I just mentioned with JD Vance. They doubled
Yeah.
down
Yeah.
on
They
the
doubled
Trump
down.
act. They didn't
Right.
balance. They said
Right.
let's
Mini
take
me.
more.
Right. So now he's got a mini me.
Let's
Right.
get the
Who's
angry white dude from the
right.
base crowd.
Right. Right. And
Amplify.
he really identifies with him because JD Vance is very, very ambitious and he's
Yeah,
a con man too. And it's like two
absolutely.
kindred souls meet each other and Trump says, I like that guy.
But it's not
And
good.
everybody else is going, what? And
Yeah. Can I just say really quick? I was watching an interview of Jesse Waters from Fox News interviewing Trump and JD Vance last night or the other night, and there's a clip, and I just saw this section of it where they're talking about energy in America, and JD Vance um, says like drill. That's why we need to drill. Like drill, baby, drill. He says drill because that's what Trump says, and then Trump starts talking, and
he interrupts him.
JD didn't finish talking. He didn't stop, and so he's drill, baby, and then drill, baby, drill, and then Trump. You see his face, and he's like, I
Right.
mean, ooh, 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 uh oh. You
Yeah.
stop. You
Well,
stop with him.
he's not stuck with them, but to dump him and get somebody else,
Can he do that?
sure.
Yeah. I mean, at this stage,
It's
he's
purely up to him.
okay. That'd be
Vice
funny.
presidents don't get votes. They're not on a ballot. There's
But
nothing
at this
like that.
point, I mean, technically, procedurally, maybe they have to,
No, J.D. Vance would, resign, saying, "I have some personal issues and I don't have
Gotcha.
time." And
He wants to hike
Trump's
that
going to say,
flag from
"Gee, I'm
trail.
so sorry to miss you,"
Gotcha.
and he'll go, "Great," right?
Gotcha. Okay.
Because
Okay.
somebody will pull J.D. aside and said, "Listen, you're dead in politics if you don't fall on this sword, you moron."
Yeah. Yeah.
Well,
Talk
but
less,
Trump, but
smile more.
my point was that Trump picks him because he's a mini me.
Exactly. That's my point as well.
And
Yes.
it's also the fact that as a mini me, he doesn't fall in line the way Pence did. He thinks he has a voice at the table. And Trump's like, no, 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 buddy. I
Careful.
picked you to shut up and shine my shoes. That's it.
Yeah.
Okay. So at any rate, forget all of that. Now to the more serious side of the equation
Yeah.
about the VP stakes. Personally, I think she ought to pick Pete.
Hmm. Good
And
choice.
here's the reason I think
Hmm.
he's gay. I
Yes.
think they ought to stuff it right up the Republicans' nose and pick a gay guy and watch them. Look, if
Uh,
being black is not enough and if being female is not enough, let's throw a gay guy on the ticket
oof.
and make them come unhinged.
Yep.
That trumps, if pardon the pun, trumps all these other typical conventional political things.
Right. Right. Right.
You, the
More fire
Democrats have one problem and only one problem is
on the
that
fire.
Democrats don't vote. They
Hmm.
sit on their ass.
Hmm.
Okay? Hillary Clinton got, I forget, 54 million votes. 54. That is like a ridiculously poor turnout.
Hmm. What
Biden gets
last election? 80,
in
82?
2016.
But then it was 82 that Biden got in 2020.
Yes.
So
Yes.
40-ish million more.
Yes.
Jesus.
Okay?
God, we do
Why?
it to ourselves.
Okay,
Right. 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 We're not stimulated enough to go.
Trump, I forget what it was, 84, he had 51, or he was off by like 3.5 million votes less than Hillary. Okay? He ended up with 74 in 2020. That's everybody on the right side of the ledger. But not for Democrats. There's another 10 million out there of independents and Democrats that didn't vote. But the reason 82 million came out is that we got to see what Trump was like for 4 years. And so the most important message is If Trump gets back in there, those 4 years will be more of a shit show than the four we saw, right, in 2016 to 2020 because of Project 2025. There is the problem of the Supreme Court and
Mm-hmm.
Congress itself.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? I want all of them to go away. I want the progressives to win Congress, win the White House, and then put some teeth into some stuff around the Supreme Court, specifically term limits, specifically enforceable ethics,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
specifically the inability of the Senate to refuse to consider a presidential nomination for the Supreme Court.
Yeah.
Okay?
Mm-hmm.
This stuff is beyond the pale to me. All right? So,
Mm-hmm.
in order for that to happen, we have to drive the MAGA world, there is no more Republican world, the
Yeah.
MAGA world far beyond just being apoplectic.
Mm.
We have to drive them all out into the open where they, like Tim Burchett from Tennessee, go on record saying stuff that is going to get every last single Democrat off their ass and go out and vote.
Yeah.
There has to be not, hey, we squeaked through and won the White House. There should be a mandate from
Yeah.
the majority of the people in this country that enough of this shit is enough and that we'll reorder all three branches of government right now at the voting booth till you get it right because this stuff isn't flying. We're not going back to the 1950s.
Right.
Okay, and we're not turning into a theocracy, and
Yeah.
we're not gonna let the Supreme Court tear up 50 years of law and launch off on a completely illogical, irrational, crackpot bullshit basis
Yeah.
to adjudicate the Constitution and law. So there has to be something more radical. So
Yeah.
I would push all my chips into the center of the table and say, get the gay guy on there. I love him anyways as a person. He's
Yeah.
very articulate. He's tough
Yeah.
as nails.
Yeah.
He'd be a great vice president and he's
Yeah.
very competent. But
Mm-hmm.
he's gay too. And I want these people just to be in horror over what the progressives are doing.
Right.
Stop trying to be normal.
Right.
Fight like you're in a dog fight.
Right, right, right. No, I think that is absolutely fascinating logic, and it makes a lot of sense because if you are gonna um, appeal too much to trying to just have a counter, maybe just a white guy, the normal,
Yeah,
you know,
this is
to somehow balance
right.
it, then
Right.
that's
There's
not
a
go
whole
to the other.
class of professional um, election consultants and whatnot,
Yeah,
and this is what they've been selling forever. And one of the problems is that Trump comes in and says, I don't need any of that crap. I'm going to go by my instincts alone.
yeah,
Okay? And guess what? It worked, right? Because it's about getting votes. It's not about protecting your job or if we're going to drain the swamp, let's start there, right? I think that the Democrats have to stop being so careful,
yeah,
right? And so policy oriented and just fight.